Hello, and welcome to What Moves Us, the podcast where we ask what moves us, or more accurately, what's going to move us in future.
We look at debates, themes, and decisions of the minute that will impact on the way we get about in the future.
Hi, Johannah.
Hi, Liam. Welcome to 2025.
Ba-ba-da-ba. Yes, isn't it delightful to be back?
Fabulous.
Yes, it's stopped raining. It's cold. We did book the date for our summer social, which is going to be in July. Let me just double check the date. So that 17th of July. So we have something to look forward to. That's going to be in Bristol. So I'm very much looking forward to midsummer.
It's past midsummer, isn't it? Because midsummer's 25th of June, isn't it?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to summer. But in the meantime, how was your festive break?
I think, like most people, I had some sort of lurgy.
Yeah.
So a bit probably more relaxing than I was anticipating, because I didn't actually have Christmas dinner until New Year's Eve.
Right. Things had not gone off by then. Yes. I mean, obviously, I was doing lots of festive things, but I was noticing a lot of things in the press and commentary about the year ahead or the year just been, and AI, more AI, and cybersecurity. So it's convenient we have an interview coming up with the team from Legal Pythia. We've got Jeremy Bormann, CEO, and we've got Raymon Ceasar, head of R&D, to talk to us more about how they're coping with AI and using it to the advantage. But in the meantime, what are your plans for the Rail Innovation Group in 2025?
More podcasts.
More podcasts.
More podcasts on our startup season. So please do get in touch if you want to be part of the first season of our startup. So we've already done a couple of recordings and we need to get some more before we can release this. So getting on with that, because the best way that we can innovate in rail is by sharing our knowledge and experience.
Okay, give us a quick share or something. Share.
Oh my God. You're putting me under pressure now on like the first week of January. Right, so I'm going to take something that actually I learned this morning, and I knew this because I know this from my own experience, not just within my own startup, but also within people I've spoken to within rail, is the importance of having good governance. Because if you do not have good governance, people do not want to do business with you. So you need to have all of this in place. That's my knowledge I'm going to share. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because a lot of startups find it hard to get into rail and to get their products into rail because they don't have good governance. And I'm not talking about overcomplicated stuff, but just making sure you have the systems and processes in place so that you're ready to do business.
Right, so do the boring bits first.
Yes.
Right.
And I know that sounds really boring, but that's how you build a successful business.
Right. Are you by any chance a consultant in helping people to do governance in their rail startups?
Yes, I am.
Right.
The stuff as well.
Well, now we know where to go. My quick snippet of advice would be to get out there, meet people.
Make friends.
Make friends, yes. Right. So let's...
You do the fun stuff, I do the boring stuff. But of course you need you need to have all the skill sets, and that is a challenge when you're a startup. But that's if you want to be a millionaire, that's how you're gonna do it.
Yes, billionaire.
Billionaire.
Right, let's go speak to Jeremy and Raymond. Right, so Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jeremy Bormann. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Legal Pythia. I have a background in law, so I studied law at the University of Mainz, that's in Germany, and I also have a Master of Laws in Corporate and Financial Law from the University of Glasgow. And yeah, we started Legal Pythia basically because we wanted to make a change, not only in the legal industry, but also in the financial and cybersecurity industry. We're passionate about artificial intelligence. Legal Pythia is the company that we have. Well, basically, it uses explainable artificial intelligence to detect fraud and duplications and contradictions in documents and data sets. And we do that for government entities, law firms, and banks. On the call with me is Raymon Ceasar, who's our head of R&D and who's also introducing a new product. But yeah.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. I know we have some thought questions, but just jumping in, one thing is where at which point in your law career did you decide that this was a thing that was needed?
Yeah, I was an intern at Linklaters. So Linklaters, obviously, it's a global law firm, London-based. But I did an internship with them in Frankfurt, in Germany, and there I just saw my mentor really struggle with, going through documents, going through data sets manually, trying to read contracts, doing that type of work, Excel files as well. And I just thought to myself, there's a better way to doing that. I think AI wasn't that of a hot topic yet. But I had a friend from Kenya who was deep in the startup scene. So he said, why don't you do a startup? And basically I was like, okay, it's a good opportunity. It's a good time. This was right before COVID. And so I took the chance. I thought, this could potentially change the legal industry for sure.
Okay, so in the environment in 2025, what's unique about Legal Pythia?
Yeah, there's a lot of unique things about Legal Pythia. I think one of the things which is not really about the product, but more about the team. We have a really diverse team. We have people from Morocco, the UK, the US, India, Germany, other African countries as well. So different countries, people from diverse backgrounds solve problems differently. So that's a good mix of people that we have. The other thing is we use explainable artificial intelligence. That basically means we're trying to explain to the end users why we made a certain decision, giving them more transparency. It's not fully developed yet, but basically we're trying to bring, each step of our solution closer to the user, trying to help them understand why they made a decision, why the AI has made a certain decision, found a certain type of fraud or not. Again, it's all about transparency and decreasing the black box problem. I think lastly, what we also do is we process documents and data sets in multiple languages. So it's not only English or German, also think about Spanish, Mandarin, and I think that gives us a good access to market and also great flexibility as well. And yeah, that's why we're unique also in 2025.
Right. And with the multiple languages, do you end up with the same results, or does each language have its own quirks that make comparing documents more challenging?
Yeah, each document has, or each language has its own quirks because there are certain language types. I think German is a very complicated language because it's very grammatical. I think English is a little bit easier, obviously, because there's more, easier words to analyze. So kind of each word structure has its own kind of, or each language structure has its own kind of challenges. But I think the results are similar. So there's not a language yet that we have encountered that is, really challenging where we can't, foster good results. By fostering good results, I mean, getting accuracies above 90%. Another thing I forgot, sorry about that. In 2025, we're introducing a new product, ThinkNet, which is also basically a web browsing tool in real time where you can kind of monitor what the other person is doing in the browser and click the same buttons and have that in real time to access that. So that's a product that we will introduce this year, and which Raymon Ceasar is the head of and the inventor of, and that also makes us again more competitive than the market and what's on there as well.
Right. Do you want to just tell us a bit more, Raymon, about this?
So basically ThinkNet is a tool that, for example, can enable companies to be able to onboard new customer much more faster than the normal process. Or, for example, customer support can easily answer and take care of a query of clients much more faster. So let's say if a client is facing some specific issue in a platform or any part of the process, you'll be able to join the client live as the same as we are right now in Zoom, but much more better because it allows you to make decision directly, collaboratively with person that are with all the people that are in the session.
Wow, that's
And also, like, basically the use case is unlimited. There's also, for example, use case for engineers. Engineers can make decision in team in development stage, in which each individual can see what is happening on the display or in the platform or any other software, and they can make decision based on that and work together. So imagine if I was coding right now, you can also code with me on the same line.
So do you envisage this being like an add-on to your existing products, or is this a whole new product line?
It's going to be a whole new product line because it's very different from what we have as Legal Pythia, our core product, which is basically web-based software that uses AI to compare documents and data sets. SyncNet will be the new product introduction where we're going to have a new aspect. Hey, you can't just analyze things, but you can work on them real time, your customers, whoever you're interacting with. So that just gives us another edge in the market. Yeah.
And then can I go back to, sorry, I'm jumping around with a few ideas here, is I appreciate the company's called Legal Pythia, and then you're doing comparing documents, but is there any sort of legal compliance or regulatory compliance that you have to fulfill as part of this service?
The first thing is we're probably going to change the name in the future because we started out as a pure legal tech company, and obviously we moved away from that, where we're now doing more fintech. We're doing a little bit more cybersecurity. We're doing more fraud detection. So obviously we're moving a little bit away from that compliance space. Having said that, we definitely have a disclaimer on our product saying, what, this is not legal advice. This is not, this is just a regular advice from an AI, which is not legally binding. What we're really trying to make sure is that we're not a lawyer, we're not a auditor, we're not a cybersecurity expert. So anything our AI produces has to be taken with a grain of salt, right? The results are very high, the accuracy is very high. But at the end of the day, it's still up to the humans, which is our vision anyway. It's still up to the humans to make the decision. We're not trying to replace people, we're just trying to assist them and making their lives easier. So at the end of the day, there might be the new AI regulation is going to come out in Europe this year and next year. So there will be some regulations where we have to take into account ethics, making sure our AI is data secure, those kind of things. But the pure advice that we're giving is not under any legal rule because we're trying to take that out.
Yeah. I guess around that, I did have that sort of like question earlier because I had this idea that legal services were quite innovative, like they were one of the first probably when audio sort of like became less used to sending the tapes off to offshoring tapes and getting people to type notes and legal notes and things that going back into the 90s and that. So presumably legal firms are also quite advanced in taking up machine learning or artificial intelligence to do that reading of documents, but not taking away, as you say, the legal advice from the actual lawyer itself. So you still need that human interaction. So in terms of your product, who is your core offering? Who's your customer? Is it law firms or is it actually corporate organizations who are looking to, sort of like get some early interpretation of data?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll be brutally honest. Like I said, we started out as a legal tech company. So obviously we were trying to get lawyers, especially like corporate lawyers, commercial lawyers in the UK and all around the world. That kind of did not go well in the beginning because multiple reasons. I think, in my opinion, law is a very traditional conservative industry. People are afraid that tech is going to take away their jobs. It's not an easy study. It's a hard road to becoming a barrister or a lawyer or an attorney. And people don't want to have that taken away from them through tech. So I think unless you have like big funding, it's going to be hard to penetrate into that industry. So we kind of did a pivot more to government entities. We're serving fintechs and also banks. So that's our core offering. So one of these examples is we work with one of the biggest fintech companies in India. They're called Bharat Pay. They're kind of a Google Pay in India, and we're trying to do financial reconciliation, meaning we're comparing banking transactions with the actual banks to make sure there's no mistakes making there as well. In the UK, we work together with a company called Little Birdie. Again, that's also a fintech company. They compare consumer data to subscriptions. So trying to help them, match that with artificial intelligence as well, making sure there's no mistakes there and everything, is going smooth there as well. So that's our current offerings now. We're also looking into the greenwashing space. Greenwashing is basically fraud in the sustainability space. So if I have an ESG report as a company or as a corporate, making sure that is correct and that's not a lie. That's also something we're going to detect in 2025. Having said that, we're serving banks, smaller banks, fintechs, and also government entities. Having said that, we're not moving away from the law firm space, but we do believe in the beginning it's a little bit better to have tractions in these other spaces before going back to the legal domain.
Great. Johannah, does that answer your questions?
It does. So I guess really, sort of like following on from that. So, how are you now building your offering, say to the rail industry and transport, what is your offering to that, and how are you identifying who your customers are and how your value proposition meets their needs?
Yeah, there's different aspects to that. The rail industry is a huge industry. There's a different aspects to it where we can see our product working. There's always the compliance part, making sure everything is compliant with the regulations for the rail industry. That's an obvious one. We're definitely looking at cybersecurity, right? We're also putting a lot of money into the development of our solution for that space, meaning we can detect any threats and data sets that are going to happen to, certain railway infrastructures or operating rooms or certain systems. So we're definitely looking at cybersecurity, detecting agents, especially these times with, proxy wars and what is happening in the world. That's very important. The other aspect is the financing of railways, right? We're looking at, again, there's certain, open banking mechanisms that's going to happen in the railway industry as well. How is that going to be financed? Any fraud that's going to happen in the inside, just making sure the project costs are handled properly, the transactions are made properly. So the whole finance aspect, again, is coming back to fraud and making sure that's good as well. And then I think the third aspect is, again, supply chains, companies that are big. Think about Virgin Group, just making sure they're sustainable. They're not lying about what they say, what they advertise to their customers. If I'm a Gen Zealer and I want to go to a railway or I want to ride a train, or I want to use a company that's sustainable and they're claiming they're sustainable, doing the background checks on them and just making sure they're, not lying to consumers is also an aspect that we can look at. So I would say in total, those three aspects are the most important ones that we're looking at.
So are you actively working with anyone at the moment on any of those three areas within transport?
We are looking, so there's a grant from the UK, which we are in the next round of. I think it's called the Security of Exchange Passengers. It's from Digital Catapult, so we're working on that. It's a grant where you get £2,000, and then, you have to present for £15,000. So that's going to start this month. I think it's also with the Department of Transportation. But other than that, to be honest, no. And that's why we're also trying to join this Railway Innovation Group and, just trying to make new connections here because we were trying to enter that space. In terms of greenwashing, we worked with multiple authorities, the Bermuda Monetary Authority, the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority of the United Kingdom, the SFC, that's the financial regulator in Colombia. But other than that, directly in the transporting industry, we haven't done that yet. But we're definitely looking to do.
So you said something quite interesting there, and just for our listeners, do you want to explain what greenwashing is? Because I think a lot of listeners are going to be interested in sort of like how this can help with sustainability goals and that. But what is greenwashing?
Yeah, greenwashing is basically if I'm a big corporate and I have a ESG report and I claim I save, let's say, 1 million trees in the UK every year, and I lie about that, right? Because a lot of companies say, you know what, they know consumers are going to care more about sustainability more and more, so they're trying to make their marketing, their ESG reports, their whole advertising in a way to look good, right? To wash themselves in a good light. What we're trying to, that's kind of a lie. That's kind of a certain kind of fraud because you're lying to consumers. You're saying you're saving trees, which you're actually not. You may be dumping oil into the sea and you're saying you're not doing that. So you're actually lying. And what we're trying to do is use AI to kind of detect that. So we do a web search trying to see, is there anything contradictory to what you claimed? If your CEO, one of your executive went to a podcast or any kind of radio station, any kind of boasts about this, and it's found on the internet, we can find it, through a web scraping, and then we kind of see, okay, they lied, which is contradictory. We also use a lot of news feeds. We work with AP, that's like a news agency in the US, and also Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and get the data there just to make sure that everything is going correct. But essentially, greenwashing is just a fraud, a type of fraud where people claim to be sustainable or corporates claim to be sustainable and they're not.
I'm actually just a bit about your journey as a startup. Obviously, you said that someone advised you to become a startup. So how have you built your products and particularly your user interfaces to respond to what people need or don't realize they need?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to mention, we're bootstrapped. So we did it through a lot of government grants. And I think the UK is one of the best places in the planet to do that because the ecosystem of grants and support is really good. So we had a lot of grants and a lot of opportunities to, develop our solution. We worked together with a lot of universities. For example, the Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen in Scotland. So we kind of developed that product based on that. And then what we did is constant testings, right? We sent the product to the SCA or to lawyers or to certain banks, certain law firms, government entities. We did certain pilot projects. Then we kind of, got the feedback in video calls, Zoom calls. And based on these video calls, we kind of changed the user interface. So if people said, hey, you know what, the user interface is too messy, it's not clear enough, this needs to be changed so it can be used correctly, that's what we kind of did. In essence, we are looking at a more simple user interface. It's just more about simplicity, trying to make the lives of the users as easy as possible. Not a lot of buttons, but just a clear, kind of dashboard on the left-hand side. We can upload 2 documents. It's clear what type of documents you can upload. You can choose the language on top left to see, do I want to process them in English, German, or Spanish? And then you have one dashboard where you really see the results. You have 1 or 2 buttons where you can also share the results with clients or colleagues or download the results in an Excel file or in another file as well. And then the same goes with the explanations. I think what we want to do is incorporate like a chatbot, which is user-friendly, and make sure, our AI explanations are, up to user standards. But other than that, we just trying to keep it simple. We had a couple of UI experts, coming in, working on the user interface to make sure it's, friendly. But other than that, it's just pure customer testing, getting feedback loops.
Great. So iterative improvement in the user interface. So give us a couple more challenges you've encountered as a startup and how you've solved them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest one is, holding the team together. That's always important. We had people come and go. most of the time it wasn't personal, but I think it's just about, money. I do understand that people, who went to university, they do want to have a good salary. Oftentimes if the bootstrap startup, it's a little bit hard. And you can't offer like other big good startups or even corporates or, your Google, your Tesla. It's kind of hard to compete that. So I think the first challenge was, keeping a team together. That's always important. I think that's the most important thing. I think another thing is just, the cash flow, making sure you're getting enough money in so you survive. That's always a challenge, obviously, because you have to get pilot projects. You have to validate your solution before people are buying it or corporates are buying it. And getting that cash flow in before you have to pay certain things is always hard as well. And I think the third thing is just, marketing, advertising. Running a business is definitely a challenge, whether it's a startup or it's a corporate. Uh, so I think that's also a big challenge. Is making sure your business is running properly. Trying to also have a work-life balance so you don't detain your health, which is of course challenging to do for sure.
I was going to say, how much sleep do you actually get amongst all of this?
Quite a lot. I think, it's at the beginning it's hard work, obviously, but we're trying to get normal sleep. We're not trying to do anything crazy, obviously, because things take time at the end. But you do have a lot of things to do in a day, obviously. So, but I think sleep it's very important to performance. So we do get a lot of sleep most of the time.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned about the other things that you have to do as a business, because obviously with your legal background, you know the importance of governance and having good governance within a business. And I think that's something that often slips up a lot of startups and SMEs. So what advice would you give to SMEs to make sure that they start off on the right footing in order to make sure that they don't get slipped up, that they start on that journey correctly?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point. I personally believe startup and business is like 80% administration and 20% actually the work, right? So you have to think about your tax statement, VAT returns. You have to file your company filings to company's house. If you have employees, you have to make sure they have an insurance, you have an employer insurance in case something happens. You have to make sure your accounts, you have proper accounts, they're submitted. If you want to do business in other countries, you have to get a TRC, tax residence certificate. Basically, that means, you have to certify, you have to have an official statement that you're paying your taxes in the United Kingdom and not as in another country as a business as well. I think in the beginning, it's important to learn these things. I think every business owner should learn these things. So it's not glamorous. It's actually quite boring, and it's also hard to learn for anybody that's not really an accountant. But I think they're important because you have to, these are this is part of the business.
Thank you. I think you are right though about this stuff is boring. It's much more interesting selling your product and developing your product, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. So, we've covered off most of the other question, which I was going to ask you what surprised you about this journey and about working in these industries.
Yeah, what surprised me, I think, it's just about patience as well, right? I think a lot of people think, doing a startup, you're gonna become like Bill Gates or you're gonna become Elon Musk in like 2-3 days. It's like glamorous. Entrepreneurship is glamorous. I think it's not that glamorous. Obviously, it's hard. I wouldn't say you have sleepless nights, but you do have some concerns, and I think it is more challenging than people are led to believe, because you have to think about a lot of things in the same time. So I think it just it taught me to practice delayed gratification, not expecting things from today to tomorrow. It taught me to work with people. Obviously, in tech, you're not really face to face with a lot of people unless you're in an office. But that also surprised me. I learned a lot about people, how people think, how they behave, if they're ready to jump your team. So just a lot of people skills. And then what also surprised me is just the friends you make while doing a business, the people you get to know, the kind of places you can travel, which is really good, right? So we traveled to multiple European countries. We went to Hong Kong last year and China. So just the connections you make and the people you meet, I think is very important, very valuable. You learn about different cultures, also different business cultures, which is not only important for your startup, but also for life later on, right? So those are the most important things I learned.
Great. That's some really good advice. The friends you make, that's a nice one to a positive ending.
Sure.
Right. So when can we expect to see the release of Signet?
We're looking at Q1 or Q2 of this year. We're looking probably at I would say April to May of this year, if not earlier, where we do have some pilots already planned with a couple of companies, one in the UK, two in Germany. But it's going to take a little bit of development to make it a full product. Obviously, it's in the early stage, but we're looking at Q2 of this year for sure. And then once it's ready, obviously, we'll tell you all about it. We'll post it. I think it's a really great product. It has a lot of potential. It's very useful for customer services, for, just operators, for the railway industry, but also for finance as well. So we're really excited to push it out 100%.
Excellent. And then we'll have to hear from you again when if you have a company name change. So announce that to the world.
We'll definitely do. Thank you so much for the opportunity as well. It's been great to be part of this.
Great. So thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Raymond. We'll speak to you soon.
Great to hear about it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of What Moves Us. We hope we moved you. For more episodes, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel.
Till next time.